Hey everybody. So this is going to be lesson 2 of our poetry unit. Unit's only 4 lessons long, so we're halfway through, and I wanted to introduce your poetry portfolio, which is going to be the major summative for this unit. First, let's take a look at what we're doing in the actual unit, and then we'll go through and explain the poetry portfolio. So, success criteria, you're going to again deconstruct a poem today. You're going to have a class discussion about the meaning of that poem and in some way hopefully related to your life. And you're going to be introduced to the major summative for this piece, this unit, your poetry portfolio. So here are your success criteria. If you can do all those things and do them well, the video will be right here you're watching. The first thing you're going to do is we're going to read the poem, The Road Not Taken. Very famous poem by American writer Robert Frost. One of my favorite poems. The poem itself is pretty straightforward, and it basically details a situation I think at some point we all come to in our lives. And I think Robert Frost gives some good advice here. I don't like to say what I think the poem's about because that in some way influences people, but you can go ahead and go through it, and I'll be interested to see what you guys think. So please, go through it. You can use Google Read and Write in any way to highlight things, to make comments, over here. As you read through it, we always want you to interact with your writing. So please, with your reading, sorry. So please go ahead and feel free to take notes in that way. Your questions are down here. Always full and complete sentences, rephrasing the question in the answer, using proof to back up your answer, and then explaining how that proof does in fact back up what you said. As always, we don't want to let a quote speak for ourselves. You always get more marks if you explain why the quote you use is effective for backing up what you're saying. Just these are the 6 elements of, 6 poetic devices to go through. Try to answer in as detailed a fashion as possible. And you'll be submitting these to the Dropbox right here. So Unit 2, Lesson 2, Road Not Taken Dropbox. We also have a Padlet that we're going to do a class discussion on. So what I'd like you to do here is really kind of to take what you think happens in the poem and, state what you think Robert Frost is saying and attempt to relate it in some way to your world. You can be as specific or not specific as you want. Doesn't have to be. If you don't want to get too personal, please don't. But you can still hopefully try to talk a little bit about a time in your life where you went through the same situation as the persona in the poem. And please also comment on one other person's. Like if I was to comment on Kate's post, I would just click down here and I would just, add a comment. And it can't just be, great post or I really like what you said. Please have it be something that actually advances our discussion or that it brings something else into our class discussion, because really this is an online course and we don't get a chance to have a lot of class discussion. So I like to use these Padlets so people can get their opinions out, because in English especially, the more people talk about things, the more clear and more apparent things become in the poem. And oftentimes someone else says something, you're like, wow, I never really thought that way. Or at the very least, you could say, I don't necessarily agree with what that person says, but I understand why they feel that way based on their description, based on their explanation, which is perfect writing. If you can have someone who doesn't agree with you at least come to understand why you feel the way you do based on you using examples and explanation and stating why those examples show the way you feel, that's really effective persuasion, that's really effective argument. And that's really what we're trying to do in English, is try to use words to argue why we are correct. So go ahead and do that. When you're done with that, I've included here your poetry portfolio, which is going to be the major summative for this unit. It is worth 10% of your final mark. It is our only media mark of this course. So media is, going through media, different types of media. Media is being, newspapers, television, radio, the internet, advertisements, commercials, etc., and pulling out examples of poetry in the real world and in life. And in this assignment, you're going to try to go through and find a fair amount of different types of poetry. So you have different written components, you have sketches and visual components, and then kind of an overall insight in classwork. And I won't be necessarily to assess your classwork, but this will be just getting the work in. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to have a cover page. Okay, so it can be an illustration or a picture that you take from somewhere or something, or a series of different illustrations. I've included a video on how to embed images in Google Docs, whether it be one image or a series of images, how to find them, how to insert them, and how to move them around, resize them, how to use them within text, that kind of thing. So it's a really short video and it really explains it quite well how to do that. So you are expected to use some kind of images. You can draw an image yourself, take a picture of it, upload it with your cell phone, etc., or you can scan it if you know how to do that. You have that technology, that ability. We have all that stuff is available to you at Loyola. We have photocopiers that serve as scanners. You can draw a picture and scan it, and then embed it in your Google Doc as well. Do it the exact same way that they would explain in the video, or you can use computer images. Either one is fine. So we do expect you to use a series of images to augment what you're saying. If you can find images that images that in some way augment what you're saying, or bring more understanding to what you're saying in your writing, that's great. And hey, if you can make it pretty, that's a good thing too. So you'll have to have a table of contents. Obviously, table of contents is, page 1, this is what's there. Page 2, make sure it's accurate. If I want to look at something, I should be able to flip through table of contents, go to that exact page, and have it appear. So on the same page, you're going to answer questions 3 and 4. Question 1, what is poetry? So we're looking for a paragraph. One sentence isn't good enough. You're going to try to make reference to at least one of the poems that we did as a class in your answer. This is to back up what you're saying, and you're going to use a quote from that poem to reinforce what you think poetry is. And then number 4, which is different, what is the purpose of poetry? So 3 is what is it? 4, why do we do it and why do we write it? Again, same parameters as C. You're going to need to talk about at least one poem from the course that we've covered, and you're going to use some quotes to back up what you're saying. Lesson 5 is a self-inventory. There are no right or wrong answers here. I simply want you to complete them, in sentence form, complete sentences. It'll get kind of ask you to be a little introspective and take a look at yourself. And that's really what we have to do in poetry, is look at ourselves and see how we feel about things. So the more in touch you are with who you are as a person, the better able you are to create and interpret poetry. So, there's a whole bunch of things here. And it's whatever you think. There are no right or wrong answers. Please be as honest as you possibly can. The interesting one is English classes are. That's always one that I like reading. And some people said English classes are horrible. I hate English classes. So that's fine. If that's the way you feel, you don't have to lose marks for that. I would like you to be as honest as possible. You answer. Everything will be confidential. Obviously, I'm not going to go to someone else and say, wow, look what this person said. Kind of thing. Everything will be confidential, obviously. I'm going to ask you to write 2 poems about 2 different topics of your choice. These poems should have persona, tone, symbols, imagery, irony, etc. And after the poem, you're going to write a paragraph explaining what the voice of your poem was and what the persona of your poem was. These need to be original poems. This is being run through turnitin.com, so we will know if you lift poems from the internet and use them as your own. That's not what we want. It's a negative thing. So please, they don't have to be novels. It can be, a stanza, 2 stanzas, that kind of thing. Same, we're looking for ballpark around the same length as, some of the things we've looked at, but they don't even have to be that long. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. So 2 separate poems of your own that you created, and outline the voice and the persona. They have to have tone and symbols and imagery, but you don't have to explain them. All the really ones you have to explain here is the voice and the persona of the poems you create. You can do a sketch or a drawing of how poetry is everywhere in life. Okay, you include a paragraph explaining your sketch. You can upload this in your drawing. It doesn't have to be, if you don't feel comfortable hand drawing it, you can pull it. You can pull a couple different images from the internet. If you want, or from novels, books, magazines, etc. You have to take a picture of them and scan them in your document. That's fine. Or you can literally draw it. I'd love to see you draw it if you want to take a chance and do some art. I'm not a very good artist myself. My wife is an artist, and she's always urging me to make sure people do put some art into the work they do. So this is a little kind of shout out to her here. You're going to find an example of poetry in the media. This could be this could be a magazine article, it could be a commercial, it could be something online, it could be a picture that you find poetic. And you're going to upload it into your document. And again, please see the video I uploaded. Then you're going to choose 2 poems that someone else did from the internet, just 2 poems that you like, and then you're going to analyze them for voice, persona, tone, symbol, imagery, and irony. And you have to actually, back up what you say, etc. And then you're going to go and you're going to submit to the Dropbox. Okay? Good luck with this.